Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News this Tuesday, the first day of July, 2025. And as always, some important stories have come across the wire since we talked to you last. In fact, the stories never stop. We could do these breaking news broadcasts about every other hour with all the stories that keep showing up. But let's get to the ones right now. What we found out now is the attacks on Israel from the Houthis continue. Oh, yes. Uh, Soon we should see a response from Israel on the Houthis there in Yemen, and believe me, it won't be pretty. Here again is our top story. The IDF intercepts missile fired from Yemen. Air raid sirens triggered across Israel. This is from YNET News. We actually heard about this before it got on the Israeli sites. We have friends from Israel that text us immediately, say, we just came back from shopping. Now we have to hit the air raid shelters again because we hear the sirens, and here we go again. And sometime soon, hopefully this will all stop, but it hasn't stopped yet. The Houthis in Yemen are still sending missiles over to Israel. All right, fortunately intercepted by the IDF. Huckabee, Mike Huckabee, the American ambassador to Israel, said U.S. B-2 bombers need to visit Yemen after Houthis missiles are intercepted. A missile is intercepted. This is from the Jerusalem Post. And Mike, you got a great idea there. And I think something's going to happen very soon. I don't know about the B-2 bombers, but it's going to be Israel who's going to visit them. And believe me, they're going to visit with a vengeance. All right, now we shift gears to Iran. Satellite imagery reveals renewed activity at the Fordow nuclear site. This is from N12 News or JFeed. We'll talk about that in a minute. Removing Hamas from power as we shift gears here again is a condition for Saudi normalization. This is from Israel National News. It's a great story. The Saudis, in talking about normalizing their relationship with Israel, before that happens, according to this article, they're going to insist that Hamas no longer rules Gaza. Hooray for them and hooray for that. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. And finally, Qatar presents Israel and Hamas with a modified Witkoff hostage deal proposal, aims to reach a ceasefire. This is from the Jerusalem Post. And we'll talk about this one also, but let's hope this doesn't come through. 60-day ceasefire, 60 for only about, in fact, less than half of the living hostages. 60 more days of a ceasefire, and only half of them, or less than half, will be released during the 60 days. Anyway, that's the latest proposal. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, let's get to the headlines. Headline number one: the IDF intercepts missile fired from Yemen. Air raid sirens triggered across Israel. Shelter-in-place alerts issued for multiple cities across the greater Tel Aviv area, as well as in Jerusalem. No casualties or damage reported. Thank God for that. Air raid sirens were activated Tuesday evening across numerous cities in central Israel, the Jerusalem area, and the Negev Desert after a missile was launched from Yemen, authorities said. The IDF confirmed that the incoming missile was successfully intercepted. The Home Front Command later announced that civilians could safely exit the bomb shelters. No injuries or damage were reported, according to the Magen David Adom National Emergency Service. Now, the sirens sounded at 8:27 p.m. in these various regions there in basically in Israel. About 7 minutes earlier, the IDF had issued an alert that a missile had been detected towards Israeli territory from Yemen, and air defense systems were being deployed. So again, hit the air raid shelters. They Israeli airspace was briefly closed for takeoffs and landings during this time, resumed shortly thereafter. And again, we mentioned, I think we mentioned this, that on Saturday, the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen launched a similar strike early Saturday morning when sirens are heard in Beersheba, the Dead Sea region, Arad, and Dimona. Now, interesting, Dimona is where Israeli's famous chocolate factory is. That's the joke our guides make. It's a nuclear site. You go there on, the tour bus and you see these high barbed wire fences. You see actually a balloon is there, not just a balloon you left in the air, a balloon that's occupied by people with armed to the teeth, as where you can see the guns hanging out. You see signs in Arabic, English, and Hebrew saying, "Don't you dare try and come in here." And it's a well-known secret. It's their nuclear facility there. It's underground in Dimona. And our guides always make a joke. Here's our chocolate factory. We love chocolate so much. Look at the guarding what we do of this. Anyway, Dimona. The missile was going towards Dimona area too. That's one on Saturday. So anyway, they keep on firing. That is the Houthis. And for how long? And hopefully not very long. Like I said, there will be a response soon. Mike Huckabee said the U.S. B-2 bombers need to visit Yemen after the Houthi missiles were intercepted. He said, "We thought we were done with missiles coming to Israel, but Houthis just lit one up over us in Israel. Fortunately, Israel's incredible interception system means we go to the shelter and wait until all clear." Then he said, "Maybe those B-2 bombers need to visit Yemen." Again, fortunately, Israel's excellent system stopped this missile coming through. We asked earlier today, I asked when I found out about this, my Iranian friend Nader. Nader, for those of you who are new, works with special forces. He is Iranian. He's a Bible believing Christian now. Great testimony he has. So I said, "What about all this?" And he said, "Iran is using the Houthis like a coward, like cowards they are. And yes, all the Houthis are doing is showing their cards. We know where they're, launching the missiles from. We're seeing how all this is being prepared. And basically, there's going to be a visit soon to Yemen from Israel, not only from missiles shots to Yemen, but also believe it or not, there are boots on the ground in Yemen like there have been in Iran for years and years. And they're doing a lot of accidents are happening in Yemen too, just like they're still happening in Iran. So we'll keep you posted on all this. So the upcoming Israeli attack will become much easier because the Houthis are showing where they're shooting from, their launch areas. So it should be fairly easy to do some real damage there. Now, this next story is really interesting. Satellite imagery reveals renewed activity at the Fordow nuclear facility. This is again from N12 News. While the White House insists the strike obliterated key nuclear capabilities, uh, and then they quote the line that's been refuted. Earlier intelligence estimates suggest only a temporary setback. Well, it's more than a temporary setback. We talked about this yesterday with the what happened at Isfahan. One of the three centers, Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow, were the ones that were hit by the Americans on the 22nd of June. And in Isfahan, there's one piece of equipment which they manufacture there will actually set the Iran back years because it was absolutely necessary, not only in the production of a bomb, well, not only in getting the nuclear weapons put together, in other words, the enrichment of uranium, but also putting together the result of that into a bomb itself. And what happened there, as we talked about, was it yesterday? It's going to set them back several years. So, like we said, they could still do a dirty bomb. They could still do something with the equipment they have, but nothing of any, they can't send 20 missiles up towards Israel now, like they could before. They've been thwarted, and if they attempt to do something, believe me, they will be hit like they cannot believe. So again, there's supposedly a ceasefire going on, but we will see. Anyway, this article goes on to say new satellite images show Iran has constructed a new access road to its Fordow uranium enrichment facility and deployed construction equipment signaling efforts to assess damage from U.S. airstrikes on June 22nd, 2025. The imagery captured over the weekend by Maxar Technologies reveals vehicles and an excavator and a mobile crane at the heavily fortified underground site, according to an analysis by the Institute for Science and International Security. Now, the Wall Street Journal said basically that a think tank suggests that the excavator is likely preparing a staging area to send cameras or personnel into craters left by the 12 U.S. bunker buster bombs designed to penetrate deep into the mountain before exploding. I don't think you need a think tank to tell us that. If you see an excavator there, you see cranes, obviously they're trying to dig through and see what's left, either sending some type of device down to a camera to see what's going on, and then eventually personnel. If you've seen the results of that, the pictures, the 30,000-pound massive bombs left visible holes in the ground there. Though no activity was observed at Fordow's filled-in tunnel entrances, several dump trucks were also spotted, likely to clear debris. Of course, that's what they're for. Okay, so the activity follows the claims that Trump, again, that the strikes in Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities, which they did to a large degree. Like we said, there's possible some small things they can do here and there, but nothing on a major scale. And that's where they've really been set back. All right, so the good news is that the nuclear experts, including the former U.S. officials, say that a seemingly small setback could significantly shift the diplomatic and military calculus around Iran's nuclear program, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. In other words, even a small setback could push them back. Well, it's much more than a small one. All right. And so the problem is, and this article goes on to say it, and we've talked about this, Iran's recent decision to ban inspectors in the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, from its nuclear facilities complicates the situation further, particularly following the U.S. airstrikes targeting Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. All right. So basically, we assume that this work at Fordow will soon be met with an Israeli response. They're not going to let them, even dig up. They're not going to let them come back and try and fix anything there. Israel is dead serious about any type of continuation of Iran's nuclear program. If they see anything happening above ground, believe me, they'll take care of that immediately. Also, too, there's still a lot of people on the ground there in Iran that have not been captured by the authorities there. They're either agents of the Mossad or working for other, shall we say, groups that are causing accidents there. So believe me, Iran's got all kinds of problems. They don't know which way to look, which end is up here because of the difficult things that are taking place in their country still, even though there is a ceasefire in place. All right, headline number four, removing Hamas from power is a condition for Saudi normalization. Now we move to Gaza. And this is an excellent story. It's from Israel National News. It says Saudi Arabia is actually insisting that Israel finish the job in Gaza by removing Hamas from power completely in the coastal enclave as a precondition for a normalization agreement with the Jewish state, the Saudi source told I-24 News. The source, who is reportedly close to the royal court, told Middle East correspondent Ariel Osseran that without removing Hamas, there will be no peace. According to the report, the Saudi government hopes the Palestinian Authority, led by Mahmoud Abbas, will be restored to power in Gaza after the fall of the Hamas government. Well, that's a whole other issue. We've dealt with that before. We'll wait and see what takes place. But this report is the first indication that ending the war now, instead of continuing until Hamas is still continuing until Hamas is completely defeated, may jeopardize efforts to secure normalization accords with Arab and Muslim nations and the Trump's administration's efforts to expand the Abraham Accords. In other words, what they must do, and that is Israel and the powers that be, U.S., whoever may help them in this, is get Hamas out of Gaza, end their rule, end any possibility of them having any type of authority there. Only then they can secure normalization, not just some type of agreement with the Palestinian Authority or somebody else. They need to get rid of Hamas. And this is great news. And this is exactly what should happen. Trump is going to meet Monday with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Netanyahu's coming to Washington. They're going to talk about ending the war in Gaza. He said he's going to be very firm with Israeli Prime Minister on the issue. Well, I hope he's very firm with Hamas too, because they're the ones keeping this from happening. Now, it's good that the Saudis insist that Hamas is no longer to rule Gaza. This is one of Israel's main goals. Again, along with making sure that Gaza can never be seen as a place where a repeat of an October 7th, 2023 massacre. And finally, headline number five, Qatar presents Israel, Hamas with a modified Witkoff hostage deal proposal aiming to reach a ceasefire. This is from the Jerusalem Post. All right. The sad thing is what it calls for. It's very similar to Witkoff's framework. There is a 60-day, 60-day peace where at the beginning of it, only 8 hostages are released the first day, 2 additional hostages at the end of the 60-day truce. During that period, discussions on ending the war are expected to take place with the goal of entering the first days of talks with tangible progress already achieved after the 60 days. And it sounds to us like another dead-end proposal. 60 days. Why only release less than half of the hostages? This keeps dragging the war out and out. Hamas will have time to regroup during those 60 days. They must be defeated, period. All the people that are commenting on the Israeli website, I think this is a Jerusalem Post story, where in one accord, what do you mean partial hostage release? All of them, all or nothing. Get it all done now. Hamas needs to leave, period. We need total victory. Quit dragging this out. So we're going to see what's going to happen. But as we find out here every time we do a broadcast on breaking news, the events are moving quickly in Washington and the Middle East. So we wait for what's going to happen next. And we assume it won't be too long before we hear some more news. All right, we'll keep you posted when it happens. I'm Don Stewart. Thanks for watching. And as always, may the Lord richly